Hi, and welcome to another episode of How to Market Your Business. Today, we're going to be talking about the topic of branding. More specifically, the topic of graphic design and how that relates to your brand. And my very special guest today is Mr. Alex Miranda from the Creative Complex. They are a branding and graphic design company in South Florida, and they specialize in graphic design. So welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you so much, Ray. Thanks for having me.
So Alex, tell me a little bit about the Creative Complex and what you guys do graphic design-wise.
Yeah, well, the Creative Complex, I started it 9 years ago when I realized that marketing directors and entrepreneurs really needed to take hold of their graphic design. It's such an important part of your business. I mean, people do judge a book by its cover, and you're doing it all the time, and people are doing it to your business too. You're looking at something graphically as a flyer, a logo, a website, and you're immediately judging it. So I decided 9 years ago, back in 2005, that I was going to corral the best graphic designers and just specifically offer graphic design to my clients. And it's been awesome going down this rabbit hole, but it's been even better that I'm specializing in a certain part of the branding process because it lets me get even deeper and deeper into the trade.
That's great. And tell our viewers the importance of branding your company, branding your logo, the way that you're viewed to people, because I think a lot of businesses, they have a logo, they have their brand, but they've never taken the time to actually sit there with a company like yours and actually go over the actual intricacies of the graphic design necessary for creating a sustainable brand.
But I think first then we should define branding. And
okay.
Branding is when your customer interacts with your business visually, that's branding. The t-shirts that you guys have at your company with your logo, the sign in front of the business, the magnet on your car, the pencils that you're sending out, the flyers, your social media. Most people think branding is just your logo. There's so much more. The branding is even the design of the inside of your office. When I walk into your office, is this congruent to the logo that I saw? Are you connecting that brand together? That's why it's so important that all of these things come together, but that they be handled by a professional company that does branding for a living and does graphic design, because these companies, you might not have thought of these other things that your clients are coming into interaction with, and these companies like mine will specialize in helping you through that process.
Now, I heard you speak at an event once, and you talked about the importance of color.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great speech, because I personally didn't even realize how important color was for my company. And then when I got to see what my logos were and the colors I used, it actually related perfectly.
Yeah.
So I knew that I was in alignment, but most business owners don't know that. So can you briefly touch upon the importance of color and kind of give them an idea of why, again, hiring a company like yours that knows what they're doing is going to really help having a lasting brand and affect their customers in the way that they want to be?
Yeah, so coloring plays an amazing role psychologically in our minds. For example, when you see the color blue, it immediately puts a feeling of trust. And that's why you see a lot of banks, like Chase, Bank of America, you see that they are blue colors. Most financial institutions will have some kind of blue in them because they want you to feel trust. And that's the feeling that we get when we see the color blue. You take the color black, for example, think luxury, you think high-end. And so you'll notice a lot of the luxury lines will have black, and you'll go to a Gucci and it's a dark website, because that's the color that we associate with luxury. So it's very important that you choose the correct colors for your logo, and they should be colors that that sort of bring out what you want your customer to feel when they see your logo. I have the actual color chart, and if you want to send me an email to alex@thecreativecomplex.com, be more than happy to send you the actual color chart with all of the colors and what they represent. So you can see if your logo actually matches up. It's funny you mentioned your logo, right? You didn't even know the colors you just chose colors. But it happened to be that those colors aligned with what he wanted you to feel when you see his logo.
Absolutely.
And it might happen to you too, and you just didn't even know. You're like looking at the color chart. My goodness, that's exactly what I wanted them to feel. Well, this is the truth. Some of you though are gonna see a color and be like, that's not who I want it to be.
And I think that that's one of the most important things, because I happen to be lucky enough that it matched for me, and it just kind of reaffirmed that I'm doing the right thing and I have the right direction.
But you have a creative mind too.
Correct. So, but most business owners just pick because maybe they have a personal connection with that color, or they just thought it looked good, or the graphic design person they hired just came up with that. But I don't think they realize how important it is for the message they're trying to deliver. You know, and I've always heard, you know, the red is the hunger. And if you notice, most fast food chains, McDonald's, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, everybody's got red. KFC, you name it, everybody's the red. You know, so I can't explain how important that particular part of it is.
One more thing this is another very important thing, is that in the United States, we see colors very differently than in Asia. And I tell you this because a lot of small business owners, they're hiring graphic designers in the Philippines or in India, outsourcing to save a buck. But the problem is that you'll tell them a logo that you want, and they're going to pick colors that they feel represent on their end. So if you're going to use an outsourced designer, just make sure you tell him the colors that you want, as opposed to letting them pick the colors, because they might not pick the colors that you want your clients to feel.
And that's a really good point, because nowadays with the internet and the availability of all these different websites like Odesk and Fiverr and stuff like that, people are trying to save a buck and not have to use more expensive designers here in the States. But what they do give up is that quality and that little bit
cultural relatedness.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
There's a lot.
Really does make a difference in the
huge.
long run. And one of my favorite sayings is, if you think hiring a professional is expensive, try hiring an amateur. In the long run, it costs a lot more money, because people don't realize that their conversion rate of their clients could be a lot higher if they properly created their brand positioning from day one.
Right.
Which and this leads me to my next question. When you meet with a client and you're going to sit down with them and discuss their brand, what are like the key points that people should be looking for or pinpointing for them to start developing their brand or rebranding themselves? Because I know a lot of your clients have an existing brand and it can be for years, but with time, as you see the larger corporations also doing, you get to a point where you need to rebrand yourself or reposition yourself. So what could people look out for? What should they do? What do you have people do to be able to find this most effective brand for their companies?
I'm really glad you asked me this question, because it's something I feel very passionate about. The most important thing to know in your business when you're developing your brand is why you're getting into this business. And a lot of people don't know exactly why they're getting into business. They know what they want to sell, and they know how they want to sell it. But the deeper question here is, why am I starting this business? And it takes some real soul searching. For me, for example, when I started this business, I started it because I was a nightclub promoter, and I needed my designs on time, and the graphic designer was always fumbling around, and freelancers taking vacations and whatever. So it was hurting my ability to promote my events, which then hurt the attendance and then hurt my pocket. So I'm like, no, there has to be a better way. And so I wanted to solve a problem. And so when I entered my business, the deep down why was more of a solving of a problem out there that was going on. When you understand and you know exactly why you're getting into the business, then explaining that through graphic design can be an amazing thing when you're sort of sharing that with your designer and your branding company. Then they're able to then digest that, process it, and now come back at you with something that really relates to your why. The second thing that I wanted to say, which is also very important, is making sure that you are really clear on your target market.
Yes.
I mean, think about it. If I'm going to brand something and I want it to be towards women, or women who are mothers, or women who are mothers of toddlers and infants, branding to that select group of people is so different than you were branding to male beer lovers. I mean,
course.
so you really have to come to your designer with exactly who you want to target. Your business, although you may think it's for everyone, and that's fine and very noble of you, at the end of the day, it's much better if you be specifically for someone. And when you're for someone, the designs absolutely change. Now, I mean, if you're selling widget X that can be sold to women and men, awesome. But for this campaign to the women, you got to design it differently than to this campaign to the men.
Correct. Even if it's the same product.
Even if it's the same product. It's got to be two different flyers, two different looks on the websites.
Yeah.
So it's very important to know your target market, and very important to know why you're getting into business.
So true. And that actually leads me to my next question. Graphic design is not only a logo and a flyer. Graphic design is used in all areas of marketing. Websites, it's used in email marketing, social media, print. So anything that you'd be getting out there to market your business, one way or another, ends up with graphic design. I know that we specialize in video marketing and event promotions, but in everything we do, for the videos, we insert graphic design. For the actual events, we print all our banners, materials, step and repeats, retractables, whatever it is. All of that gets graphically designed before that event. It brings me to my next question. When it comes to hiring a graphic designer, I mean, there's so many different types. There's freelancers, there's companies, there's hiring someone in-house. What should be the process for a business owner to hire a graphic designer to fulfill whatever needs they have for their business?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I get asked a lot of times. I actually wrote a blog about it. If you go to thecreativecomplex.com and you go to my blog, you can read about it. I can also email it to you as well. Email me to alex@thecreativecomplex.com. So typically there's a freelance designer, there's a part-timer that you could bring into your business, there's a full-time designer, and then there's companies like mine who do graphic design fulfillment. So in the freelance world, the good thing is that you can go on Odesk or Elance, or maybe your nephew does graphic design. Craigslist, and you can pick up a freelancer. The bad thing is that they're a freelancer and they could get a job tomorrow. I have clients all the time. It's like, oh, my designer who I was using finally got a 40-hour-a-week job. And so now you're kind of out, because this designer had your look and feel and your theme down pat, and now you got to kind of find a new designer. Part-timers come into the office on a whatever part-time schedule. Again, they might get a full-time gig, and then you're out of that part-timer. Full-time graphic designers are great. There are situations where you do need a full-time graphic designer, especially if you need to be over their shoulder a lot. They're laying out a magazine for you, laying out a newspaper for you. I mean, yes, you need a full-time designer in your office for that. But again, full-time designers can be sick. They can go on vacation.
Costly.
And they're more costly. They're employee costs. So now you're dealing with a situation where, sure, you had a full-time designer, but there's also caveats to that. A company like mine, where we do graphic design fulfillment, kind of solves the problem of all three of those into one, because we have a full team of graphic designers in-house, and we're just waiting for our clients to send us work. And it's 24 to 48 hour turnaround. So even if you do have a graphic designer that's full-time in-house, you load them up with a ton of stuff, task number 10 ain't gonna get done till about a week. All these things, and then that's, hopefully Bob doesn't come in and interrupt with an emergency project. So I sort of started this company knowing that there was situations like this going on all the time. So I'm like, no, just don't hire freelancers and part-timers and full-timers unless you need to. And there is a time and place for a full-time designer. But bring a company like mine in, because you can get fast turnaround on your design. And your full-time graphic designer should really be the person overseeing the other designers doing work. So if you really are that busy where you even need another graphic designer, definitely don't start hiring more graphic designers. Keep one designer and have him manage other designers who don't work in your office, but he's the eye in the sky creative director type.
Yeah. Now, having all these different options leads me to my next question that I know I've experienced in my own company is, how important is it to have a consistent graphic designer, or to be able to carry out your brand throughout all the different types of medias that are out there?
That's a really good question too, because I preach that a lot, is consistency amongst all of your designs. For example, you definitely don't want one person doing your email marketing and another person doing your social media and then another guy designing your flyers, unless of course you've given all three of them the same style guide and that there's a creative director on top directing them and making sure that the brand is being consistently put across all of your various ways in which people are visually seeing you. I'll give you an example. Sometimes a printing company will sell you your flyers, and it'll be $100 for 1,000 flyers, and then they'll say, and we'll throw in the design for free. These people are taking a template and slapping your logo. They don't care about the brand that you've created. They just need to slap something up and get it out the door so you get your flyers. And you, the business owner, are getting it thinking, oh, I got my flyers, cool. Not realizing that the flyer doesn't really match the website, which doesn't match the email that you sent out. And it's like now you're almost like three different companies being portrayed out there. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that all of your media be consistent. And if I was going to be very specific, a lot of people are on social media right now. If your Facebook page looks one way and your Twitter page looks a different way, I see this all the time. Yep. Why would you do that? Mm-hmm. You're someone who's designing your Facebook should also design your YouTube, your Google, your Instagram, all your stuff, so it's consistent across all. If you look at my social media, this is a perfect example. Just go to my website, thecreativecompass.com, on the top right, click of each of my social media links, just send that to your graphic designer and be like, look how these guys are consistent across all, I want you to copy what they do. And then send me an email and let me know how it goes for you, because I'd really like to see that. But it's so important that you have a consistency in your graphic design amongst all your marketing material.
that's a really good point that you bring up, because social media now is obviously the rage, and it's really one of the best, most effective, and least expensive ways to get out there to your market. And a lot of business owners who are starting to get on social media just aren't really using it to their best potential. And I see a lot of companies that just throw up their logo on their cover photo or on their background if it's a YouTube channel, and they don't realize that that's prime real estate. And every time somebody lands on one of these social medias, they should be properly branding themselves, positioning themselves, and selling their services. That cover photo, that background, those images are prime real estate to do just that.
Yeah.
So it's not just enough open up a Facebook account and slap your logo. You have to actually, and I know you guys do this really well, is brand your social media, and brand it in a way that it not only communicates who and what you guys do for people, but also allows them to be able to contact with you. I see a lot of people who have their logo, but there's no website, there's no email address, there's no phone number. So that prime real estate is just getting wasted. There's no call to action to get people to interact and give you their numbers. And I know, can you kind of just touch on that, because social media is such a big trending thing right now, and how does your company, graphic design wise, properly position business owners using social media?
I'm really glad you asked this question, Ray, and it's very important for you to understand and know what Ray just said. We call it direct response social media branding. So typical Facebook page, you put your logo up, you might put a cool picture of your office or some product or whatever on your Facebook cover photo. And I'm going to talk Facebook for example for right now, because it's what most people have immediately. But if you look at my social media for the Creative Complex, you're going to see that I use the real estate on my Facebook cover photo, and I put an arrow pointing down towards the little tabs, and it says request a quote. I could have just put up on my Facebook page a bunch of cool graphic designs that my company does. But I realized that, sure, someone can come to my page and they can see, oh, they do these cool designs, awesome. But what if I plant a seed in that person's mind that you can request a quote, and it can be as easy as a click? So point down. If you're selling flowers and it's the month of May, I hope that you don't just have a picture up of a bunch of flowers. I hope it says, order your Mother's Day bouquet, $39.99, starting at $39.99, and then there's an arrow saying order now, and then that tab is a click to your order page. And that's just an example for people that, a flower person, but a nightclub, if you're throwing an event, forget about a nightclub, anybody throwing an event, you put up a Facebook cover photo, and it's RSVP now, and there's a big huge arrow pointing down. I mean, you really have to understand and know that the person can be psychologically manipulated by the words and the figures that you use in order to get a response. And you call it call to action. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of call to action words that you can use. Buy now, click here, download now, save today. And on my blog too, you can tell I'm passionate about this because I blog about it as well. I actually put up a bunch of call to action words that you can use in your social media. You can go to my blog and learn a lot more there. But now, Twitter also allows you to kind of play around with arrows and point them towards URLs. So you can get direct response on Twitter, on YouTube, on Google+, on Facebook. Those are the four main ones that you can actually get direct responsive on, because there's the ability to click out somewhere.
And it's funny you say that, because literally those are the four that we specifically work on with our clients. Obviously we focus on video marketing and event promotions, but the way we get it out there is using websites, email marketing, and social media. So we do exactly what you're saying as well. We brand our YouTube, our Google+, our Facebook and our Twitter. And it's not only branding, giving that visual experience. We make sure that there's certain information, such as our business's website, the phone number, and a call to action directing them to actually take action and give us some of their contact information or make a purchase, or at least give us an email so that we can market to them later on. So, turning that social media page into an actual lead generating page. I know people say, oh, I have many likes and stuff. Likes don't mean anything. How much traffic of people are raising their hand saying, yes, I'd like to learn more, or I'm interested in purchasing from you, that you can then continue to market through email marketing, which again, based on the design, the graphic design of your layout and what you use to communicate your message to people, really helps with the conversion of sales. And in the end of the day, that is what every business owner wants. They want to make more sales. That's the whole reason we created this show, was to help business owners, learn new and innovative marketing techniques that they might have known were out there, but we're just not using to the best of their ability, and really how to effectively market your business and increase your bottom line. So, I'm glad that we had you on the show today to give us your insight and knowledge about graphic design. Now, if someone was interested in learning more about the Creative Complex and what you guys do and possibly even hiring you, where could they go and how can they get that information?
First, thank you so much for letting me be a part of this show. I think it's so amazing that you're putting this together to educate small business owners on the importance of marketing. And I love how I'm honored that you would bring me on the show to talk about graphic design specifically, because you're right, it is a very crucial component in your marketing.
Yep.
If you want to learn more about the Creative Complex, about me, go to thecreativecomplex.com. We'd be more than happy to schedule a quick call with you. We can get on the phone for 15 minutes and just talk about your business. I want to learn more about what you do, why you do it, and see how we can synergize together and come on board and help you create an amazing brand.
Excellent. Well, thank you for talking to me today, Alex.
Thank
It's
you,
been a really pleasure. And as always, thank you for tuning in to howtomarketyourbusiness.tv, bringing you the best, the experts on different techniques on how to market your business. And we'll be seeing you on the next episode.